Hello, everybody. This is Empowering Democracy. I'm your host, Joe Firestone. Our topics for tonight were the squad attacked, it's listed as Trump will destroy public health, but of course it's Trump would destroy public health. And our third topic is Pelosi and crypto. However, just before we went to stream with this show, I learned that there was a new piece out by Pepe Escobar and I'm going to postpone going to the other three topics in this show to talk about Pepe's new article. So, hang on a second. Well, first, before I go further, I guess I want to share this stream. So bear with me while I do that. Since I don't have a producer who will do it for me. Okay, there we go. Okay, but now I want to share Pepe's article to begin the show. It's an important one about reflecting on the death of Raisi. Raisi led the charge for Russia, Iran, China's new world order, the multipolar world, of course, and new world order is in quotes. And this appeared today, May 22nd, 2024. And here are pictures of Putin and Xi and Ibrahim Raisi. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi's eastward vision was instrumental in advancing the strategic Moscow-Tehran-Beijing nexus and bulldozing a path towards institutionalizing multipolarity. Well, that's an interesting take on things. So, Pepe begins, amidst all the sadness and grief over the loss of Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi, let's take a moment to showcase the critical path he helped forge towards a new global order. In the nearly 3 years since Raisi ascended to the Iranian presidency, Eurasian integration and the drive toward multipolarity have become fundamentally conducted by three major actors: Russia, China, and Iran, which by no accident are the three top, quote, existential threats to the hegemonic power. At 10 p.m. this past Sunday in Moscow, Russian President Vladimir Putin invited Iran's ambassador to Moscow, Bakhazem Jalali, to be at the table in an impromptu meeting with the cream of the crop of Russia's defense team. That invitation reached far beyond the myopic media conjecture over the Iranian president's untimely death was due to a, quote, accidental crash, unquote, or an act of sabotage. It came from the fruits of Raisi's tireless labor to position Iran as an East-facing nation, boldly forging strategic alliances with Asia's major powers, while sweetening Tehran's relations with past regional foes. Increased Eurasian integration. Back to that Sunday night table in Moscow, everyone was there, from Defense Minister Andrei Belousov, Secretary of the Security Council Sergei Shoigu, the Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov, Emergencies Minister Alexander Kurenkov, and Special Assistant to the President Igor Levitin. The key message portrayed was that Moscow has Tehran's back, and Russia completely supports the stability and continuity of government in Iran, which was already fully guaranteed by Iran's constitution, excuse me, and its detailed contingencies for a peaceful transition of power under even unusual circumstances. As we're now deep into total hybrid war, bordering on hot, across most of the planet, the three civilization states shaping a new system of international relations could not be more obvious. Russia, Iran, China, or RIC, are already interlinked via bilateral comprehensive strategic partnerships. They're members of both BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, and their modus operandi was fully unveiled for the whole global majority to examine at Putin's crucial summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing last week. In short, none of the three Asian powers will allow the other partners to be destabilized by the usual suspects. Later, President Raisi and his top diplomat, Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian, leave a stellar legacy. Under their leadership, Iran became a member of BRICS. By the way, I covered this last night. A full member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and a major stakeholder in the Eurasia Economic Union, the EAU. These are the three key multilateral organizations shaping the road to multipolarity. Iran's new diplomatic drive reached key Arab and African players, from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Egypt to Libya, Sudan, and Djibouti. Tehran, for the first time, conducted a sophisticated large-scale military operation against Israel, firing a barrage of drones and missiles from Iranian territory. Iran-Russia relations reached the next level in trade and military-political cooperation. 2 years ago, Putin and Raisi agreed on a comprehensive bilateral treaty. The draft of the core document is now ready and will be signed by Iran's next president, expanding the partnership even further. As a member of an Iranian delegation told me last year in Moscow, when the Russians were asked what could be on the table, they replied, quote, "You can ask us anything," and vice versa. So all interlocked the declinations of Raisi's, quote, "look east," unquote, strategic shift, coupled with Russia's earlier, quote, "pivot to Asia," unquote, are being addressed by Moscow and Tehran. The Council of Foreign Ministers of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is meeting this Tuesday and Wednesday in Astana, preparing for the summit in July when Belarus will become a full member. Crucially, Saudi Arabia's cabinet has approved a decision for Riyadh to join possibly next year. So Saudi is going to be inside of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Not inside NATO, but inside of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. That is very significant. Iran's continuity of government will be fully represented in Astana via interim Foreign Minister Ali Bagheri Khani, who was Amir Abdullahian's number two. He's bound to immediately enter the fray alongside Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Chinese counterpart Wang Yi to discuss the multi-layered, multipolar path. A hypersonic joint statement. The overarching charter of what a system entails was revealed last week at the landmark Putin-Xi summit via a stunning 10-chapter joint statement over 12,000 words long, with cooperation, quote unquote, appearing no less than 130 times. This document can correctly be interpreted as a joint hypersonic manifesto, comprehensively blowing up Washington's artificial, quote, rules-based international order, unquote. This section particularly stands out. All countries, quote, all countries have the right to independently choose their development models and political, economic, and social systems based on their national conditions and people's will, oppose interference in the internal affairs of sovereign countries, oppose unilateral sanctions, end quote, long-arm jurisdiction, unquote, without international law basis or UN Security Council authorization, and oppose drawing ideological lines. Both sides pointed out that neo-colonialism and hegemonism are completely contrary to the trend of the times and called for equal dialogue, the development of partnerships, and the promotion of exchanges and mutual learning among civilizations. Iran, sanctioned to death over 4 decades, is now learning directly from China and Russia about their efforts to destroy, quote, decoupling, unquote, narratives, as well as the effect of a tsunami of Western sanctions on Russia. For an example, an array of China-Europe train corridors is now mostly used to ship Chinese goods to Central Asia and re-export them to Russia. Yet amidst this trade boom, logistical bottlenecks also increased. Virtually every European port refuses to handle any shipments from or to Russia, and Russia's largest ports continue to have problems. Vladivostok does not have capacity for large cargo ships, while St. Petersburg is very far from China. So Chapter 3 of the Russia-China Joint Declaration places particular emphasis on, quote, port and transportation cooperation, including developing more logistics routes, unquote, and deepening financial cooperation, quote, including via increasing the share of local currency in financial services, unquote, and increasing industrial cooperation, quote, including in strategic areas such as car and boat manufacturing, metal smelting, and chemicals, unquote. All that applies to Russia-Iran cooperation too, for instance, in streamlining the international north-south transportation corridor, especially from Astrakhan in the Caspian to Iranian ports, and then via roads down to the Persian Gulf. Iranian Foreign Minister Bajiri Khani had previously remarked that thanks to Iran's, quote, exceptional geopolitical location, unquote, reaching West Asia, the Persian Gulf, the Caspian Sea area, and wider Eurasia, Iran can contribute to the economic growth and economic potential, quote unquote, of all regional players. Putin's visit to China last week included a visit to the northeastern powerhouse Harbin, which has strong geographical, historical links to Russia. A giant China-Russia expo attracted over 5,000 commercial firms. It's not far-fetched to imagine an equally successful Russia-Iran expo at a Caspian Sea port. Promethean Project. What links Russia, China, and Iran is first and foremost an emerging framework designed by sovereign civilizational states. The fateful passing of President Martyr Raisi won't alter the big picture in the least. We're in the middle of a long process against an environment conditioned for decades by pain and fear. The process has gained immense traction these past few years, starting with the official launch of the new Silk Roads in 2013. The new Silk Roads and Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, are a Promethean project that is as much geopolitical as geoeconomic. In parallel came the gradual expansion of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's role as an economic cooperation mechanism. Once again, Iran is a top BRI, SCO, and BRICS member. After Ukraine's Maidan coup in 2014, the Russia-China strategic partnership really started picking up speed. Soon, we also had Iran selling practically all of its oil production to China and coming under protection of the Chinese nuclear umbrella. Now, that's interesting. I didn't know that that was explicit. As, of course, very important. Then, of course, the Chinese nuclear umbrella is under the protection of the Russian nuclear umbrella. So, Then we had empire humiliated in Afghanistan and the special military operation in Ukraine in February 2022 and the expansion of BRICS into formerly Western terrains in the global South. During his memorable 2023 visit to Moscow, Xi told Putin that, quote, changes not seen in 100 years, unquote, would occur, and that both should be at the helm of these inevitable changes. That was exactly the crux of their discussion last week in Beijing. The Iranian bombing of ultra-protected Israeli territory with perfect precision as a response to a terror attack on its diplomatic consulate in a third country sent a crystal clear game-changer message completely understood by the global majority. The hegemon's power in West Asia is coming to an end. Losing the Rimland is anathema to perfectly American geopolitics. It must be back in its control as it knows how important it is. New direction. The angel of history, though, is pointing in a new direction. I didn't know there was an angel of history. Maybe he was thinking of the angel of music. No, it's pointing in a new direction to China, Russia, and Iran as the natural sovereigns shaping the reemergence of the heartland. Concisely, these sovereigns have the epistemological level. Normally, I would say the knowledge, but maybe he means something deeper than simply knowledge. Epistemology, of course, refers to the theory of knowledge. The epistemological level, will, creativity, organization skills, a vision, and tools of power to realize a true Promethean project. It may sound like a miracle, but the present leadership in all three states shares this common understanding and endeavor. For instance, what could be more enticing than the possibility of former nuclear negotiator Saeed Jalili as Iran's next president to join new Foreign Minister Ali Bagheri Khani? In the past, Jalili has been cast as too, quote, hardline, unquote, for Western palates. But the West hardly matters anymore on these shores, the Iranian shores, I think he's talking about. After Raisi's eastward and multipolarity grand U-turn away from former Iranian reformist President Hassan Rouhani's misguided failed westward foray, Jalili may be just the ticket for Iran's next phase. And oh, what a perfectly dashing compliment to the Xi-Putin duo that would be. So this is really breaking news. And I don't know whether we'll get any confirmation of it, But what Pepe Escobar is suggesting here is that the successor to Raisi is going to be Jalili. And that's not something I've heard from anyone else in any other forum, okay, except for this. How hardline can Jalili be when he is the nuclear negotiator? I mean, he's not that hardline. He was involved in the JCPOA. He was involved in trying to put it back together, and it would have come back together except for U.S. opposition. So I'm not too worried about his being real hardline. But if he's cast as hardline, can he be more hardline than Raisi? Okay, I don't think so. But what he can be is just as enthusiastic as Raisi was to solidify the axis of Russia, Iran, and China as the core of the move towards a multi-polar world, as forging the pathway to multipolarity. This article was published from the Cradle by permission of the author, okay, or the representative of the author. So it's also, okay, at the Cradle, and you can see it there. But I didn't want to take the time to cover that. And then I'll go back to the topics that were scheduled for tonight. Very, very important article, I think. So Andy Candy comments, hiya, Joepedia. Ship kids off till 9 p.m. For ice cream. Who's taking them for ice cream if not you, Andy? Anyway, I'm glad you can attend. I'll now go to what has become our second topic for the evening, which is the squad attacked. And let's see, let's get that. Where is it? So where is the squad attacked? Oh, looks like I didn't have it correctly lined up, unless it's here. Oh no, it was in LA Progressive, so I do have it here. So the headline is, has the squad reached a turning point? This piece is by David A. Love, May 19, 2024. One must wonder why a Republican is inserting himself into a Democratic primary and getting into black folks, or specifically Summer Lee's business. I don't know, but I don't think that Republican is going to be very successful against Summer Lee. The members of the squad, progressive Democratic Congress members of color, are facing primary challenges because of their position against Israel. I don't think they're against Israel. I think, at least not per se, what they are is pro-Palestinian rights. That's only against Israel because Israel interprets it that way. Pro-Israel groups such as AIPAC and Republican billionaire donors are pouring tons of money to unseat black social justice lawmakers who oppose U.S. support for Israeli apartheid and the genocide of Palestinians. What we are witnessing is a big money operation designed to purge Democratic critics of Israel at a time of massive public opposition and outrage over what Israel is doing to the Palestinians. AIPAC is focused on the squad, as the pro-Israel lobbying group is expected to spend $100 million to unseat these Democrats who have urged President Biden to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. Of course, we've heard this before. It's been in the news for at least the last 3 weeks or so. In the first test for progressive lawmakers, Representative Summer Lee The first black woman elected to Congress from Pennsylvania killed it in the Democratic primary. Lee won by 20 points against a centrist opponent, Edgewood, Pennsylvania City Councilwoman Bafini Patel. So, Patel, who positioned herself as a centrist Democrat, received financial support from Jeffrey Yass, a GOP businessman, TikTok, and Truth Social investor, and billionaire mega donor who supports public funding of private schools and conservative groups in Israel. Yass, now the largest donor nationwide in the 2024 election, funds the moderate PAC, a super PAC that supports centrist Democrats like Lee's primary challenger. Patel disavowed Yass's support, which included more than $600,000, to sponsor an ad that painted Lee as unsupportive of Biden because she criticized him. One must wonder why a Republican is inserting himself into a Democratic primary. I don't wonder about that. They've been doing it all the time. Through the money. It's all about the money, them bringing the money to the table. And getting into black folks, or specifically Summer Lee's business. But Yass is also tight with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and bankrolled Netanyahu's judicial coup. So he's a genocidalist, right? Yass is a genocidalist too. An attempt to take over the Israeli courts that was met with mass protests. Meanwhile, with AIPAC spending its money around to Democratic primary challenges, some members of the squad may have more of an uphill battle for re-election than Lee. AIPAC is bankrolling the campaign of Westchester County Executive George Latimer, a Democrat who wants to unseat Representative Jamal Bowman in his New York district in Bronx and Westchester counties. Bowman is considered one of the most vulnerable progressives running in Congress, with a district that was redrawn to represent more of suburban Westchester. AIPAC is responsible for 42% of $1.4 million in total campaign contributions to Latimer, according to the Intercept. And the Trump Republican mega donor hosted a fundraiser for the candidate. An AIPAC donor even urged Jewish Republicans to switch parties and vote against Bowman, a critic of Israel who was called for a ceasefire in the Democratic primary. Moving to Missouri Congressman Cori Bush, she is being outspent and outpolled by challenger Wesley Bell, the St. Louis County prosecutor. Bush, who has been among the most vocal lawmakers in Congress against the Israeli bombing of Gaza, has warned supporters that AIPAC wants to buy the House seat, and with AIPAC support, Bell has $1.1 million in cash on hand, double the amount of Bush. One poll from February has Bell leading Bush by 22 points. Elected in a wave of progressive prosecutors following the Michael Brown killing in Ferguson, Missouri, Bell, who was running to unseat GOP Senator Josh Hawley, suddenly switched races to run against Bush. Oh, that wasn't nice. He must have switched races because AIPAC promised him a lot of money. Quote, I'm being targeted by AIPAC because not only do I believe Palestinians deserve to live freely and peacefully, just like Israelis, but because I want to protect our democracy from Republican extremism, unquote, quote, Bush told the New York Times. Quote, we proudly endorse Wesley Bell, who's a strong advocate for the U.S.-Israel relationship, unquote, said AIPAC's Marshall Whitman. I have to add here, right in the middle of this, that we don't need in Congress any more strong advocates for the U.S.-Israel relationship, because that relationship is getting us into trouble with international law. It is making us complicit in the genocide that Israel is carrying out in Gaza. Quote, in clear contrast to his opponent, who represents the extremist anti-Israel fringe, unquote. Bell criticized Representative Bush for saying Israel was engaging in an, quote, ethnic cleansing campaign, unquote. Well, who do you believe when looking at what is happening, okay, in Israel? Do you think that Israel isn't engaging, okay, in ethnic cleansing? Or do you believe your lying eyes going on? Ethnic cleansing against the Palestinians in Gaza, calling her statement offensive, quote unquote. Wonder what he would think of my statements, and saying, quote, I think we have to stand with our allies. Right? Is this a we have to stand with our allies, right or wrong? Is this an our allies, right or wrong position? Bell promised to, quote, stand with the president, unquote. Do we want a representative who's going to want to stand with the president, or do we want a representative that's going to serve the people of his district by not allowing us to get closer and closer to nuclear war in the Middle East? I mean, what do we really want, folks? Do we care whether people stand with Biden or not? Is that who we want to elect as a representative? Or do we want to elect people who are doing the right thing? Well, Representative Bush has received contributions from NBA star Kyrie Irving of the Dallas Mavericks and progressive groups such as the Squad Victory Fund and Progressive Voices for Peace. Bell has enjoyed donations from a number of billionaires, including donors tied to Republican politics. For example, hedge fund billionaire Daniel Loeb, who has contributed to Democrats such as Barack Obama and Cory Booker, has funded GOP politicals such as Elise Stefanik, Kevin McCarthy, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, John McCain, and Mitt Romney. And there's a rogues gallery for you. And Reid Hoffman, the billionaire founder of LinkedIn and Biden donor, who bankrolled Trump rival Nikki Haley, gave a maximum donation to Bell. Well, the maximum donation is chicken feed. Did he give any more to PACs? Well, a Democratic Majority for Israel PAC, which I believe is Reid Hoffman's PAC, has endorsed Wesley Bell, claiming that Bush has a, quote, long-standing enmity towards Israel. It's not an enmity towards Israel. It's a fondness for Palestinian rights. The DMFI PAC also endorsed Latimer in a New York race against Bowman. I think DMFI is a PAC full of lying swine. They defeated Nina Turner, okay, in Ohio, with a stream of lies. The DMFI is not a PAC, it's a super PAC. And with its basically unlimited money, they elected Chantel Brown instead, okay, of Nina Turner. Chantel Brown, of course, is a happy tool of the Israeli genocidals. Anyway, DMFI PAC also endorsed Latimer in the New York race against Bowman. The pro-Israel group is spending a total of $3 million for these two primary challenges to progressive black incumbents. In Minnesota, Representative Ilhan Omar is facing a challenge as well. But Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, whose largest contributor is AIPAC and who was accused of caping for Netanyahu by attending an AIPAC-funded junket to Israel with 24 House Democrats, is nonetheless supporting Omar and all Democratic incumbents. Omar, whose daughter, Isra Hersey, was arrested and suspended from Columbia University for participating in a pro-Palestinian encampment protest called AIPAC a, quote, right-wing super PAC. Actually, I have to say that AIPAC is not a super PAC. AIPAC is a PAC, but the UDP, the United Democracy Project, That is a super PAC that was funded and founded by AIPAC. So there you go. Okay, there you are. But AIPAC itself is not a super PAC. But it is funded by dark money, quote unquote. Yes, it is dark money because PACs can be dark. Super PACs have to disclose contributions above $200, though. So super PACs are nowhere near as dark as PACs. Omar, who squeaked by and won a primary challenge against black former Minneapolis City Councilman Don Samuels, is polling 18 points ahead of Samuels in a 2024 rematch. Samuels claims he's not receiving money from AIPAC, which spent $350,000 against Omar in 2022, but says he would consider it if offered. At this point, squad members Rashida Tlaib, Democrat of Michigan, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat of New York, and Ayanna Pressley, Democrat of Massachusetts, are safe. Pressley, who has evolved from a pro-Israel stance and now calls for a ceasefire, has not had a serious opponent since her first victory in 2018. AIPAC has not made any moves against her in this election cycle, according to Politico. In light of the robust spending by AIPAC and others, more than 20 progressive groups have joined forces to form, quote, Reject PAC, AIPAC, unquote. This collective effort is designed to challenge AIPAC's campaign to silence, quote, growing dissent in Congress, unquote, over Israel. That growing dissent reflects a humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, U.S.-funded industrial massacre, tens of thousands of Palestinians, famine, and the first live-streamed social media genocide. Two-thirds of voters, including majorities among Democrats, Independents, and Republicans, have called for a ceasefire in Gaza, and half of Biden voters polled believe Israel is committing genocide against Palestinians. A majority of black Americans want a permanent ceasefire and conditional U.S. military aid to Israel. I believe that's a majority of all Americans want that as well. Palestine has become a defining human rights, social justice, and free speech moment of this century. Protests supporting Gaza are spilling into the streets and college campuses of America as black college students, scholars, clergy, civic leaders, activists, and others are organizing and speaking out for boycott, divestment, and sanctions, BDS against Israel, facing arrest, suspension, and punishment for doing so. And it is within this context that the Israel lobby, like the NRA and others, is engaged in the legalized bribery of politicians, pouring money into races to replace the squad with more compliant, moderate members of Congress, including compliant black lawmakers who will toe the line on the billions of dollars going to Israel and who will support everything Israel does. This piece was from Black Commentator, and the black commentator involved here is, of course, the author, David A. Love. So there we are. Of course, this picture of Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Ayanna Pressley. And that's an old picture, of course, but okay, it's a good picture. So here we are. Of course, this is all about dumping the corruption. If we had a successful dump the corruption campaign going, if it will mature right now, AIPAC would not be a factor. DMFI would not be a factor. The $100 million they plan to spend would be toxic for them, entirely toxic. That's what dump the corruption actually offers. I'm going into some more dump the corruption material now. I'm going to the next piece on the agenda. That one is about Trump's war on government will take public health back a century. I caught this one at Poolside. Trump and his allies are planning to deconstruct, quote unquote, the administrative state by stripping its power and forcing out tens of thousands of workers. That will put all of our lives at risk. This is from an article published May 16, 2024 at the New Republic by Abdullah Shiapar. Visiting nurse entering a row home surrounded by children and adults. The Visiting Nurse Society of Philadelphia, circa 1890. This is from Penn Nursing at the University of Pennsylvania. That photo was. It's perhaps hard to imagine today, but we have two landmark books to thank for the U.S. government's most vital public health regulations. Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, published in 1905. Shine the Light on the unsanitary and unsafe practices of the meatpacking industry, and eventually led to the creation of the Food and Drug Administration, which regulates the safety of products for human consumption. Some would argue about the job the Food and Drug Administration is doing these days, maybe considering it the deregulator of the safety of products for human consumption. But maybe that's too harsh. In 1962, Rachel Carson's Silent Spring exposed the toxicity of the pesticide DDT, which helped lay the groundwork for the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency. Today, these two agencies are part of a multitude of government regulatory bodies that ensure the health and safety of Americans. Those bodies now find themselves under threat from right-wing politicians and legal activists alike, who together are working to gut the so-called administrative state on the grounds that it is supposedly bloated, leftist, and too powerful. But these efforts, which include 2 Supreme Court cases this term, as well as Donald Trump's second-term plans, would have tangible and severe consequences, not just for those who keep our government functioning every day, but for the hundreds of millions of Americans who rely on that government to keep them safe and healthy. The federal government is a gargantuan institution tasked with regulating all sorts of small but consequential minutiae of American life, everything from regulations on airline safety to workplace standards for dealing with hazardous chemicals. Congress grants the agency the power to set those rules themselves. The FDA is governed by the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938, while the EPA's power is spread among laws like the Clean Air and Clean Water Acts, because Congress itself is not the time nor the expertise to decide or even simply review the thousands of rules finalized each year. But conservatives want to eliminate these agencies' long-standing legal authority, and they just might succeed thanks to 2 consequential cases before the Supreme Court. One is a challenge to the FDA's approval of mifepristone, the abortion medication. I guess it's mifepristone, which the plaintiffs, the coalition of anti-abortion medical professionals, claim was insufficiently vetted. In oral arguments last month, the Supreme Court signaled it might find that the plaintiffs do not have standing. But if the justices decide otherwise and side with the plaintiffs, experts warn that the FDA's regulatory processes would be completely undermined. People would have the ability to challenge drugs for any reason, political or otherwise. Things are far grimmer with the second case, which calls on the Supreme Court to overturn Chevron versus NRDC. That 1984 ruling established the so-called Chevron doctrine, effectively allowing the EPA and federal agencies to use their relevant expertise to interpret ambiguous federal statutes when they make rules. Courts then defer to regulatory agencies' expertise. To put it plainly, if congressional bills have to outline every specific instance in which an agency had to act, Congress would have to update bills constantly for regulatory agencies to function. EPA is not the one facing scrutiny in this case, but rather the National Marine Fisheries Service, a division of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. In arguments in January, the Supreme Court appeared willing to disregard or limit the Chevron ruling completely, which would make expert decisions made by regulatory agencies subject to far more legal scrutiny. Just like the aforementioned FDA case, a judge can override the expertise of regulatory agencies and overturn rules, however specific and niche they may be. Public health experts have warned that this would dramatically limit the ability of agencies like the FBA and the Center for Medicare and Medicare Services to operate by subjecting them to routine legal interference. Some examples of these rules implemented in the past year include rules reducing methane from oil and gas production, rules allowing for increased dosages of methadone and allowing take home doses, rules allowing for the healthcare coverage of deferred action for childhood arrivals, recipients, and much more. Every year, there are between 3,000 and 4,500 rules published in the Federal Register, according to the Congressional Research Services. These rules help ensure that federal agencies can implement their mandate. They all touch on small but significant aspects of people's lives. Disrupting this process may be disastrous. Beyond legal attacks, conservative activists want to dramatically reduce the size of the federal workforce and remove civil service protections, thereby turning long-standing federal employees into essentially political appointees serving at the pleasure of the president. Late in his presidency, Trump signed an executive order to strip away those protections for tens of thousands of government workers, but Joe Biden's victory put an end to that for now. Trump, if he wins, is expected to try to reenact the order, and he's got some help from the Heritage Foundation, whose Project 2025 is working, quote, to assemble an army of aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state, unquote. One can imagine a dire future if the federal government is remade in this way, especially during a pandemic. Once again, a highly contagious virus is spreading through the United States, and the right wing government is not interested in tackling the spread of the disease. When the president says the seasonal flu is worse than a pandemic, and it's contradicted by top disease experts at the National Institutes of Health, he fires them. When a vaccine is finally developed and approved by the FDA for emergency use, the decision is overturned by a court when a coalition of states brings about a lawsuit questioning the safety behind the vaccine. Left without proper information from the government and no access to a vaccine, thousands more die. At the heart of the conservative push to defang federal agencies is the belief that the government should not impede the ability of companies to make a profit and that health and safety are an individual responsibility. But public health regulations exist for painfully obvious reasons. Environmental and societal factors are necessarily beyond an individual's control, and they can lead to bad health outcomes. You can eat well and exercise, but ultimately still develop cancer from living a few miles away from a plastics factory. In fact, as Jesse Singer argues in There Are No Accidents, many of the major causes of death in the U.S., car accidents, overdoses, and other things we consider tragedies or accidents as the result of negligent policy by regulatory agencies like the FDA are the ones we task to fix, improve, and maintain that policy. Things are not perfect, of course. These agencies are just as subject to corporate influence as any other arm of government. The FDA controversially approved a now abandoned Alzheimer's drug, and the EPA recently approved a fuel made from plastic that produces carcinogenic toxic emissions. But that's all the more reason these agencies need strengthening, and that weakening them would be catastrophic. Uh, Americans are dying at a younger age. Life expectancy has declined. People are getting cancers at a younger age. Overdoses are the top killer of people aged 18 to 45, and maternal mortality has skyrocketed. We should be aggressively expanding regulations that target the causes of death and disease. Instead, we're threatened by the prospect of going back in time when there were no protections for your safety on the job, no recourse for being poisoned in your backyard. Well, of course, the remedy for this is, uh, and the remedy for countering the Supreme Court is more laws. prohibiting the Supreme Court from interfering, in regulation. We can safeguard, our regulations through Congress passing laws. We can have Congress pass laws if we dump the corruption in Congress and if we get rid of all the people who are representing the donors rather than representing the people. And that's what Dump the Corruption is about, getting a Congress that will represent the people and put people over profits, not the donors over people. So I'm going to stop sharing that one and go on to the final article of the evening. Hello, Steve. Trump is evoking neoliberal hell. Well, yes. However, neoliberal hell, it has to be noted, is actually fascism. And in that case, both Trump and Biden are evoking neoliberal hell. Neither of them should be or can be president again. We have to stop it. So let's go to the next piece. And an old friend is back doing corruption. Pelosi may back industry-friendly House crypto bill. Crypto bill. The industry has become a major spender in political campaigns, and the most prodigious fundraiser among Democrats is taking notice. This is David Dayen. Dayen. He is the editor-in-chief of the American Prospect. Here's a picture of Nancy Pelosi in God knows how expensive a jacket with God knows how expensive pearls. She's speaking with reporters as she arrives at the U.S. Capitol May 6, 2024. Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, Democrat of California, is considering voting for a Republican-backed crypto bill when it comes up for a vote this week in the House, according to sources familiar with her thinking. If she does that, she may be able to carry another 26 to 30 Democrats with her. I'm sorry to say. The bill, known as the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act, FIT 21, was put together by Republicans on the House Financial Services Committee and represents the most comprehensive effort to regulate crypto to date, primarily along industry-friendly lines. The bill could also open up loopholes for other financial instruments outside of crypto, experts told the Prospect. The Rules Committee meeting on FIT 21 takes place later today, with the floor vote likely as soon as Wednesday. I don't know if that floor vote took place. Pelosi is no longer in the Democratic leadership, but her opinions still carry weight among many House Democrats. She also remains one of the most prodigious fundraisers in the Democratic Party at a time when the crypto industry has delivered two large sums of campaign contributions over the past two electoral cycles. Yes, and remember Sam Bankman-Fried and the contributions he delivered. Totally corrupt. House Republicans' decision to give FIT 21 a vote allows those crypto PACs to see definitively where members of Congress stand on the issue before November and target spending accordingly. Oh, wonderful bill. Wonderful bill. Make everybody declare so that the PACs know who not to spend on. If Pelosi supports the bill, she would be breaking with the ranking Democrat on the Financial Services Committee, Representatives Maxine Waters, Democrat of California, who opposes FIT 21, along with Representative Brad Sherman, another senior member in Pelosi's California delegation. In a communication to House Democrats, leadership did not say it would whip the bill, only that Waters and other senior members strongly opposed it. In 2022, Pelosi managed the House Majority PAC, the Super PAC supporting the House Democrats, when it received $6 billion from disgraced crypto billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried to support a candidate in an open seat Democratic primary in Oregon. That candidate Carrick Flynn lost the primary, even though that candidate got $11 million, still lost the primary to a normal Democrat. Pelosi personally received $2,900 from Nishad Singh, director of engineering for FTX, Bankman Fried's bankrupt crypto exchange. Coinbase, one of the major currency exchange platforms, no longer has a physical office, but spent the first 8 years of its life as a company based in San Francisco in Pelosi's district. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong has qualified for more lenient crypto regulation in Washington before even taking a selfie with Pelosi in 2021. The company's name is on a coalition letter endorsing FIT21 that was sent to the House leaders last week. In response to a question from the Prospect, Pelosi spokesperson Aaron Bennett said that he did not yet have an answer on her position on the bill. FIT21 addresses the threshold question in crypto regulation. What counts as a commodity and is therefore regulated by the Light Touch Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, and what counts as a security, with oversight going to the more stringent Securities and Exchange Commission. The bill would define all digital assets on a, quote, decentralized, quote unquote, blockchain as a commodity, and would also give the CFTC regulatory authority over cash or spot markets for crypto. The definition means most digital currencies and coins would get put under the CFT's regulatory regime, and even for those crypto assets defined as securities, there would be several exceptions to SEC regulation. Stable coins, which are pegged to the dollar and are used to facilitate crypto trading, would have only limited federal regulatory oversight. In other words, the bill delivers what the industry has sought for some time, a regulatory regime mostly dominated by the CFTC, which has been far more accommodating of the industry. The coalition letter says the legislation would help, quote, accelerate the growth of blockchain technology and digital assets, fostering financial inclusion and protecting national security, unquote. Waters and other Democrats held a member and staff briefing about FIT21 on Monday, strongly rejecting the measure. Financial reform groups have been assailing it for months. Quote, this is a bill that instead of creating regulatory standards for the crypto industry, tries to rewrite financial regulations to benefit crypto, unquote, says Mark Hayes, senior policy analyst on fintech with Americans for Financial Reform. In particular, advocates take issue with Title II of the bill, which would alter the long-established Howey test, quote unquote, for determining what counts as a security. The Howey test says that an investment of money in a common enterprise with a reasonable expectation of profits to be derived from the efforts of others is a security. But FIT21 would change that standard, which has been in place since the Security Exchange Act of 1934, for digital assets. That would keep them out of SEC oversight. That is a recipe for a crash. That is ridiculous. That is just clearing the way for another crash, okay, of the markets and for another depression here in the United States. It is ridiculous. You know, the neoliberals always want to get out, okay, of regulation, and it always leads to disaster. It has to be stopped. And of course, how do you stop it? You stop it by dumping the corruption. Hayes says that this creates a roadmap for other Wall Street players to use the same rubric, meaning that other investment contracts could be written outside of crypto whose assets would be exempt from the securities laws. Pelosi may not have 90-year-old financial regulation statutes in mind when assessing the bill, but the reality of 21st century elections, as the Prospect has reported, the conviction of Bankman Fried for criminal fraud has not slowed down the crypto money train in Democratic primaries. As of April, the industry had raised $80 million for the 2024 elections. Numerous Democratic members have recently been elected, from John Fetterman, Democrat of Pennsylvania, to Representative Richie Torres, a Democrat of New York, himself a sponsor of Fit 21 with crypto industry support. The effort has paid off for crypto companies. 32 Democrats in the House and Senate joined Republicans last week to roll back SEC guidance on crypto accounting, a resolution President Biden has vowed to veto. Pelosi was not among the 21 House Democrats who voted for the resolution, but on the Senate side, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer was among the yes votes. Schumer also tried unsuccessfully to work a deal in the FAA reauthorization bill to include legislation favored by the industry regulating stable coins. There was speculation that Schumer was trying to protect Democratic Senators Sherrod Brown and John Tester, who have been threatened with campaign spending from the crypto industry against their re-elections. In the Senate race this year, Representative Adam Schiff, Democrat, California, protege of Pelosi's, added pro-crypto messaging to his campaign website, saying that he would make sure the United States remains the global leader in these important new technologies, unquote. As a result, he received an A quote-unquote rating from an outside group called Stand With Crypto, and his primary Democratic opponent, Katie Porter, was hit with $10 million in negative ads funded by the industry. Several House Democrats have already lined up to support Fit 21, including Ro Khanna and co-sponsors Representative Torres, Wiley Nickel, Democrat of North Carolina, Henry Cuellar, Democrat of Texas. Of course, Henry Cuellar is one of the most corrupt of the Democrats in Congress, as is Richie Torres, who was recently indicted, Henry Cuellar, that is, on bribery charges. House Democratic support could determine whether the Senate feels the need to take up the bill, though it's currently seen as unlikely. Pelosi's decision would determine to a significant degree where those numbers would end up. The potential financial windfall for supporting crypto and the onslaught for opposing it is driving Democratic decision-making, Hayes says. This is not about supporting crypto. This is about trying to navigate the threat of promises from super PACs. So there it is. Another dump the corruption situation, and another situation where we will be severely damaged if crypto is deregulated by putting it under CFTC rather than putting it under SEC. This is going to be a cause of a future recession, of a future crash. There's no way of stopping it unless crypto is properly regulated. All you can say about that is if it goes under CFTC, there's going to be an incredible surge of gambling, in crypto. Some people, the smart money, is going to benefit from it. Billions will be made, once again. But at the end of the process, there will be a crash, and billions who are not among the smart money, who don't have influence of large funds, will be victimized, and there will be a crash, and we will all be left holding the bag for the crypto industry. So this has got to stop. But what it illustrates is not just a problem with respect to crypto. It illustrates that the only problem of having policies that are stupid get followed by the federal government, the only problem we have is not APAC. There's the crypto industry. There's the healthcare industry. There is the construction industry. There are the fossil fuel industries. All the major issues have corrupted legislators from both sides defending these industries. The only way to get around all of this is a dump the corruption campaign. Now, there has been something added to the possibility for dump the corruption campaigns in Congress. Specifically, what has newly been added is oh, I'm sorry, this is picking up my Xfinity. I'm not trying to pick up my Xfinity, so let me go here. Okay, there's an APAC tracker on Twitter here. Okay, APAC tracker. What APAC tracker does, and there are other trackers, okay? There's an APAC tracker and an Track Packs collective as well, okay, as the APAC tracker. Let me see if I can open that link, okay, in a new tab. But there are people doing trackers now, tracking what's going on, okay, with the corruption. And what they do is they tweet. Here's a tweet. This is them pointing out that Wesley Bell from Missouri has collected more than $800,000 from AIPAC and the Israel lobby to run against anti-AIPAC rep Cori Bush. And they're tweeting this out. It's very, very effective. But one thing that's relevant for us in terms of the Dump the Corruption campaign is it's incredibly easy to quote tweet something like this and to say another hashtag dump corruption case. Beat Bell. With the attached rule meme. Then, all you do is you attach the dump the corruption rule, which we've all been looking at for a very long time. All you have to do is download it from Twitter and use it for yourselves. And this gives you a chance to basically follow the trackers, in this case, the AIPAC tracker. And every time they do a tweet, you do a tweet of the dump the corruption rule. That way, we can maybe start up the dump the corruption campaign, okay, in earnest. For example, if not only myself, but all of us were to do that, okay, on a continuing basis, okay, we could maybe start off the dump the corruption campaign. We've been looking for a way to really start it off. Well, courtesy of Laura Fielding, who suggested this to me, this is something that a number of us can combine on. Not just myself, but if you all will join me in doing this on a daily basis, spend an hour following the tracker of your choice. Okay, and if we're all doing this, if we spend, okay, an hour a day just doing 4 or 5 tweets, and 10 of us do this, we can perhaps start to make an impact and start to mushroom this so that the rule can finally get circulated to enough people that maybe people will vote this way. Maybe they will vote according to the dump the corruption rule. So, that is one of my messages for tonight. I'm going to go over your comments very briefly so I can join the D show. Following this, Andy says, my daughter-in-law and her sister, they're living here now, 13 of us now, 10 under 17. Wow. Andy Candy says, I cannot dismiss the connection of racism and genocidalists. They're clearly going after people of color. Yeah, you're dead right. They're going after people of color. Mr. Love certainly hasn't been bought. I agree, dump the corruption or be stuck with inverted totalitarianism. In the one case, or be stuck with fascism if Trump wins the other, with naked fascism. I think inverted totalitarianism is also fascism. It's just not so naked. D says, hello, April. Oh, D says, no 9 p.m. show tonight? Oh, okay. Then I won't have to hurry this, will I? That's interesting. So Andy says, Trump is evoking neoliberal hell. Andy Candy says, hi, D and guests. Andy Candy says, the hammer clobbered the wrong Pelosi. If you're referring to me as the hammer, which other Pelosi should I have hammered? Andy Candy is saying, criming is really bad for the climate emergency too, is it not? Yes. It is very, very expensive in terms of the energy expended. Blockchain stuff is very, very expensive. Okay, it is. And the climate cost in that has not been properly addressed. But it's something we need to watch out for. We obviously need new sources of energy, renewable sources of energy to be able to afford all the mining. Oh, you're talking about Nancy Pelosi's husband getting hammered. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. And of course, you're right, Andy. You're right. The wrong Pelosi was hammered. Okay. Now, this is not an encouragement to violence. I want to be quite clear, okay, about that. So, Andy says, not pertaining to you, Joe. Oh, so I'm not the hammerer. We used to have someone on here, specifically Carmen Muniz, who's a homeless person and who is not able to get to our streams when they occur, though she often comes afterwards, who was fond of calling me the Hulk. So I thought for some reason, I'm not sure exactly why. She used to watch the shows and hope that the Hulk would come out, which every once in a while happened when I got real exercised. But anyway, I'm actually pretty exercised, though, tonight. And that was really a serious proposal of mine. I wonder if we can organize a collective effort to use the meme in collaboration with the trackers. In particular, start with the APAC trackers, but move to some of the other trackers also. This PAC Tracker Collective, Track APAC, Track Farmer, Track Oil Packs. So it's operating already in 3 areas. We can maybe start, a track of our own. Or we can track even more and join the Pack Tracker collectives, who have only 2,194 followers so far. Well, there's a 2,195th. But let's see what they're doing. Here's the oil pack tracker. Mr. Quid pro quo asked the oil industry to bankroll his failing campaign with $1 billion plus fund his legal fees. In return, he would roll back many of the environmental measures. Donald Trump has already accepted greater than $23 million from oil and gas lobbying. He is a climate arsonist. He is a climate arsonist, absolutely. And there he is. He's received $23,188,206 from the oil and gas lobby. From the oil and gas lobby. And right now, as long as we're on the subject, okay, I'm going to love this post from the oil and gas track, or the oil and gas tracker. What do they call themselves again exactly? The oil pack tracker. And I'm going to quote tweet this. Best reason to vote against Donald Trump. To vote against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is that he represents owners and not his voters. Voters need to apply to dump the corruption rule. Hashtag dump the corruption rule. To both Trump and Biden. And there we go again. It's easy to do 5 of these per hour, maybe more. Easy. Okay. And there you go. We can get 10 people doing it, 50 tweets an hour. This could well catch fire. Let's do it, folks. Let's do this. Yeah, go ahead, honey. Yeah, Barney's going to use the microwave to make some tea. Andy Candy says Hulk is very cute. And he says, I got to see if I can get into X now. Something went wrong with the Twitter. Is the tracker on Facebook? I'm unaware of its being on Facebook. These trackers, and there are now 3 trackers. Let's be specific about that. Okay, again. Okay. There's a tracker collective. And so far, they have three trackers. They have at track APAC, at track farmer, at track oil packs. So they're covering three areas right now. Now we could do more than farmer. We could have at track health insurance companies, at at track health insurance packs, or at track insurance packs dealing with health insurance. Okay, we could go systematically down every lobby area and have pack tracker for that area and hit them all with the dump the corruption rule. That might be the way to become effective at long last in getting the dump the corruption idea out there. I have to remind you, if we got the dump the corruption idea out there for the 2024 election, it would knock Trump and Biden completely out of the box. It would probably knock Bobby Kennedy out of the box also. And it would get rid of every member of Congress. It would get rid of 1/3 of the Senate. It would be a political revolution. People would go crazy over it. If we could get it going, it would be the biggest news in politics, but screw that. It would be the kind of change in the political system that we need. So I'm going to leave you with that message once again, unless you've got more comments. We had pretty good attendance in this show. A lot of people watching on Twitter, I think, who were not part of the comment stream, of course, because even though we stream to Twitter, it doesn't have a comment stream reflected here. I did share this stream on Facebook, but we're not seeing any comments from Facebook. I don't know why. We're only seeing comments from YouTube tonight. So that's very interesting. I don't know if Facebook has the trackers. You'd have to check that out, Andy. And if you see it, then we can do things on Facebook as well. Kay says, bye, Joe and all. Bye, Kay. Have a great night. Okay, any other comments? Mm-hmm. I thought that was another great piece by Pepe Escobar. It was just so pregnant with information and hunches and hints, okay, about what's going to happen now. I think you'll start to see these same things other places now because he started. And it says, I prefer using YT because you can float around between tabs. Yeah, I like YT too. Definitely. I love YT. But we don't do as well in terms of attendance on YouTube, strangely, as we do on Twitter and Facebook, generally speaking. I don't know how well we're doing on Facebook here tonight, though. I can see. I can check it out and see. Yeah, usually I close it off to stop the possibilities, okay, of echoes. I am trying to get rid of the echoes. But I can just. Okay, we don't have too many people on Facebook at this point, too many shares. Maybe it's just because there are two instances here. Yeah, there are two instances here. The second instance may have more. Let me see. Nope, it's the same. So I don't have many viewers on Facebook tonight. I don't know why. Maybe I'm violating community standards. I just saw something there about community standards. Nope. It may just be uh, that Facebook people were not, signing on here tonight. But uh, oh, there's something. Okay, from Evelina, who's the first person who came in from Facebook, and that's the first comment on Facebook tonight. But we've had 18 people here and now 17 people here. So, and we only had a few that we see from YouTube, like two or three, right? Four maybe altogether, okay, from YouTube, uh, and one from Facebook. So that's five. So, uh, as long as most of our views are coming from Twitter, they won't be reflected in the comment stream. And he says, I wish you could get Pepe on your stream. That would be epic. Here's the key to getting people to come on my stream. Okay, and this has actually a lot to do with me. Uh, until I reached a level of, let's say, 50 attendees, uh, uh, I mean, I don't think I would ask people who expect there to be hundreds of attendees, listening to them, watching them. In Pepe Escobar's case, he's got thousands of people watching him. Why would he want to come on a stream that that's got even 50 views? And we're running. We've started increasing lately. We're now no longer down there at 8 or 10. We're up to 18, and for the foreign policy streams, we're now up to 27 to 35. But we're still nowhere near Pepe territory, okay, or Scott Ritter territory, okay, or any of the really good guests that we might like to have on the show. But also, this show, okay, is a little different. And the reason why it's different is because obviously I want to feature my analysis. I mean, I'm not primarily, an interviewer. Uh, who's looking to, feature interviews with other people. But there's no question, though. I would love to talk to Pepe. I would love to talk to Scott Ritter. Okay, I would love to talk to Larry Wilkerson. I would love to talk to Jeffrey Sachs. There are lots and lots of people, okay, that I would love to talk to. But I've got to be bootstrapping. And so far, I haven't been very successful, in doing that. And he says, I wish you'd get Pepe on your stream. That would be epic because you're on their knowledge level, Joe. Your knowledge base is epic. Thank you, Andy. And he says they would learn from you. Not necessary. I mean, uh, okay, I do think I can carry on conversations on a fairly equal basis with the people that I mentioned. Whether they would learn from me um, 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 or not. I don't have their basis in terms of exposure to facts. Not right now. because I don't have all kinds of people talking to me and, telling me what's going on here and what's going on there. I'm not traveling around the way Pepe does, getting the feel, okay, of situations. My strong point, okay, is in analysis. And I think there I could have very good conversations with them because I believe I'm a very good analyst. When it comes to analysis and logic in that area, I don't take a back seat to anybody. So I think there you're right, Andy, but you have to distinguish, different areas, okay, of knowledge. On that note, I think I'm going to quit boosting myself, which I always find a little bit awkward to do anyway. And I think I'm going to end this stream for tonight, unless you have other topics you want me to get into. Since Dee is not coming on tonight, I wouldn't be averse, to conversing with the rest of you for another half hour. That would be all right. Quite all right. But I do have some pills to take, okay, at this point. So I'd appreciate it if Bonnie gives me my pills. So. Oh, honey?
I gotta get up first.
Oh, I know, but I just wanted to make sure you didn't forget it. So Bonnie is at the stage in her recovery where...
I got a bunch of these.
Great.
I don't have the chain.
Where she's constantly forgetting her cane and going around the house without even using her cane. So she's been recovering very well, very, very well. But she still should be using her cane, okay, around the house to lessen the possibility of accidents. But she's coming along very well. Any more news about the helicopter? Us. Oh, I saw Bonnie walking by. Hi, beautiful, says Andy Candy. There, April, actually. Yes, Bonnie is very lovely. Thank you, April. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Bonnie does also. And she's more than simply lovely. Bonnie has an inner beauty that has allowed us to have a wonderful marriage. We're working on 58 years now.
57, Joe.
We're working on our 58th.
58. Okay, I'll take
Yes.
that.
We're working on our 58th. This fall will be our 58th. Oh, that looks nice. Very nice. Any more news about the helicopter? I hadn't seen any fresh news today about the helicopter. I think, okay, my sense of things is that it will take some weeks for the Iranians to investigate this and see whether it was, first of all, sabotage, and whether the sabotage is attributable to Western sources. I know you can ask, well, who else would be involved? Well,
Who knows?
Raisi domestically was a hardliner. As a hardliner, he made, okay, a lot of enemies. and there might have been domestic groups that wanted to get rid of him. Uh, so April asks, I have jasmine tea brewing. Uh, what kind are you guys having? We are having curcumin ginger tea. That is our standard kind of tea.
And I like green tea too.
And Bonnie likes green tea too. And I like green tea too. But the reason why I generally stick with the curcumin ginger tea is because it's anti-inflammatory, very anti-inflammatory. And I think it's very important to keep the inflammation down as much as you can. And April says, the scientist going into the mosque, what is he trying to incite? Were more Zionists going into the Al-Aqsa Mosque today? Was there a further incident on that? I hadn't seen that yet. Okay, if there was, but I'll tell you this. The right wing in Israel is trying to incite. Uh, uh, Andy says, I have ginger green tea too. And the scientists are trying to incite, okay, a regional war. Okay, the Iranians don't want, okay, a regional war. But I don't know if they're going to be able to avoid it. They've tried to avoid it by presenting to the Israelis their deterrent that they can get their missiles through. And if they want to, they can start attacking the civilian areas of Israel, Haifa specifically, of course, okay, Tel Aviv. And I don't know if Dee is still here. She may still be here. Okay. But so we drink, yeah, mainly green tea and also curcumin ginger tea. And we use a lot of turmeric, during the day, and curcumin. We use it in our cooking quite a lot. Okay, it's become a real staple for us. And we think it's very successful in toning down all kinds of inflammation related stuff, such as arthritis pain, general joint stiffness, uh, shoulder pains, all kinds of age related things. So we, really like its effect. Uh, and we keep on doing it. It's really good. So, any more questions? We just got a message from our son, which is, oh, wow.
What? What's what?
I'll tell you in a minute after the show. Okay. April says, Dee, are you still here? Andy says, turmeric hurts my kidneys. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that. I know it doesn't hurt my kidneys because uh, due to my other illnesses and due to other medication I'm taking uh, to manage my prostate cancer, I have to have kidney function tests each month, okay, once a month. So I'm constantly monitoring my kidney function, and it's great at this point. So I'm not having any side effects of turmeric, okay, on my kidneys. Knock on wood, or knock on plastic, or whatever it is. My computer is made of, not made of wood, it's made of plastic, of course, or something. Okay, going back to the question about any more news on Russia. Well, the news on Russia is all about, go. For example, the Russian offensive, in Ukraine has Ukraine on the point of collapse now. I'm expecting a collapse within the next 2 months. Okay. Uh, April says, Joe, am I a slammer because I comment a lot? I don't mean to be rude. No, you're not a slammer, April. I don't mind answering your questions, okay, at all. You're very supportive of the stream. You're asking questions which are relevant. Keep on going. I think, we love it when you comment. I think this applies to Dee also and to Dee's program too. I think we both love it when you comment. I think, though, it would be nice if everybody would to like, share, and subscribe, because so far I've got only one like for this stream. I know, since most of you have been here for a very long time now, that you got to be liking this stream, otherwise you just leave. But it would really help me a lot if you would all like the stream, as well as share and subscribe it. That would also be very good. But anyway, going back to, we had a spammer on here last night. Actually, he was on D's stream last night. No, he was on my stream last night. His name was, what was his name again? I forget. But anyway, he was here really, really spamming the stream. It was really awful. So Andy sees 7 likes. You mean on YouTube? Oh, that's good. For some reason, my interface is showing only 1 like. Maybe it hasn't had time to record the 7 likes yet, but that's much better. And I agree, that's much better. Okay, so Russia definitely has Ukraine on the ropes. I expect the collapse of the Ukraine government and probably of its military effort too within the next 2 months. I don't think it can be stopped, okay, at this point. And I may be being conservative in saying the next 2 months. Of course, the West is trying to stop it by giving Ukraine these attack of missiles, the ones with a 400-mile range that it can use to reach deep into Russia and attack Crimea and also many other important targets inside of Russia. But that's not going to stop Russia. All that's going to do is intensify the Russian attacks on the whole of Ukraine, okay, everywhere. I mean, the punishment is going to be incredible, and it will just hasten the speed, okay, of the Russian operations. And he says, your stream was shuddering earlier when you were commenting about my Xfinity. I don't think I was commenting about my Xfinity. I think I was commenting about my Twitter. Wasn't I? Not Xfinity. I also was commenting about Facebook. And he says, I have mint chocolate cookies with my tea. We don't have cookies and stuff like that because the sugar, what we usually do is we eat Trader Joe's chocolate lovers chocolate bars, and they are 85% cacao, and they have a minimum of sugar, and they're an acquired taste, and we acquired the taste, and we really like them right now, but we don't eat too much of them. We dole out the pieces of chocolate very carefully each night. So that's what we do, and we have that with our tea also, and that's very good. Okay, so Russia's moving forward very fast on the military front. It's increasing its industrial production as well, very, very rapidly. Its factories are operating 24/7. Its economy is expanding very rapidly right now. Its deals with China, okay, are burgeoning. A lot of this is happening through Central Asia, indirectly. But cacao high antioxidant, that sounds good. Very good. Sugar free, that sounds very good also. So, um, the Russia China combination is doing amazingly well right now. And if Iran continues, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the BRICS, I mean, the sky's the limit for that stuff. And the United States, while it's doing its best to overturn the apple cart with basically hybrid warfare, trying to destabilize, various regimes, like they've been trying to destabilize desperately now, the regime, okay, in Georgia, trying to have a color revolution in Georgia, spending a lot of money on that. But I think the West is, especially the United States, is not going to be successful there. The Georgians are going to vote for a nationalist party. I don't mean an extreme nationalist party, but a nationalist party that's favorable to ties with Russia, ties to Central Asia, and ties to China, and that gives up the dream of becoming part, okay, of NATO and being absorbed somehow in the Western Bloc. I don't think that's going to happen in Georgia. I think the Russians are going to win in this game of influence. I think Georgia will hang on to its sovereignty, and that as a result of that, it's going to prosper. But that's what we in the U.S. are trying to do. We're very active in Latin America, trying to overthrow Gustavo Petro in Colombia right now. Of course, we're working against the regime of Lula, in Brazil. Uh, uh, April says Timu stopped selling Russian lymphatic patches. They were excellent in drawing out toxins. I wonder if the U.S. is the cause. And she says, good for Georgia. Yeah, I think it is good for Georgia. Okay, I think I'm going to call it a night, April, because there's no general discussion. It's, simply discussion you and I are having. I like that discussion, but I would like it to be more generalized. Uh, of course, the viewers from Twitter still seem to be there, still seem to be here. So, uh, but I am becoming tired also. So, we had an early day today because we had a jewelry show today here in the building. I mean, it was our show, run by Bonnie and I. It's the first one we've been able to have in 3 months now since the accident. So, but it was a reasonably successful show. We were very happy with it. And we had a good time. But when we have these shows, we have to get up at 7 o'clock, and Bonnie, okay, at 8 o'clock. So it becomes a long day for us if these streams run too late. And so it'll be good to get to bed, okay, a little bit earlier tonight. And besides that, I think my son has some interesting news for me, and I'd like to call him and find out, a lot more about it. So, thank you very much, April, for all your comments, and thanks very much to everybody, for all of you who have stuck with the stream for so long. please share, like, and subscribe. Or if you are on Twitter, please retweet, okay, the stream, and see if we can build up the aftermarket for this particular show. I will be back tomorrow. I should tell you what I plan to do for tomorrow. Last week I told you I was going to get back to talking about, okay, the units. Tomorrow I will have time to spend a good part of the day thinking about, okay, the unit. So my show tomorrow will be focused on the white paper from the Unit Foundation, okay, .org. I have the white paper. I haven't had the time to fully absorb it. I'll take the time tomorrow to fully absorb it. And I'll be reading parts of the white paper, not the whole thing, of course. And I will be, I'll be critiquing it. Now, I'll tell you what I think of it from my understanding of the MMT framework. I'm not the best on the MMT framework. People like Warren Mosler and Stephanie Kelton and Bill Mitchell, okay, and Randy Ray and some others are better than I in understanding the framework. But I think I'm at least at the second level, which means I think I'm among the top maybe 10 to 20 in the world in the understanding, okay, of MMT. So I think I'm in a pretty good position to critique the unit from that particular standpoint. In fact, I'll be having a show with Warren Mosler sometime. It'll be a video, it won't be a live stream, but we'll be talking about uh, okay, the unit as a possible currency for BRICS on that show as well. So, and actually, I'll be doing a video with him. Uh, well, I guess on Friday, on the 24th, on June 24th, I think we're scheduled for it. That'll be during the day at about 11:30. As I say, that won't be streamed. But my show with you tomorrow will help me to formulate my thoughts for that video, which then later will be streamed at some time later, and you'll be able to watch it, okay, on the Understanding MMT channel, the UMMT channel, where Warren and I will be having a weekly show coming up soon, strictly, okay, on MMT related issues. So that's a new thing. I should have been telling you about that anyway, I think, at some point. But I know a lot of you are more concerned uh, uh, with the wide range of issues I talk about here rather than, simply the MMT focus. But there's still some of you uh, okay, Andy says, April says, I understand, Joepedia. Thanks for having me get that tea. Bonnie, there are beautiful beads for cheap on Temu. I made some lucky ducky bracelet anklets and sell them. Good night, starshines. April says, the MMT shows I've seen you do are really fantastic, even when I don't understand it all yet. And Andy says, that's very informative about the MMT focus. Yeah, so I'll be doing a discussion of the unit tomorrow from the MMT framework standpoint. And it will be critical. It won't be just, oh, I love the unit because it's something the BRICS, may be adapting. I'll be doing a critical perspective on that tomorrow. So I hope a bunch of you will come. to that, and that you'll share, like, and subscribe, and that you'll also follow my suggestion of using Twitter to get the rule for dump the corruption circulated. I think that's very, very important. So once again, thank you all, and good night. And I'm going to end the stream now.